I just want to talk to you a little bit about motivation. First of all, I'm going to talk about an intermediate group that I had just after Christmas. And they're possibly one of the nicest groups of students I've ever had. And they arrived all at the same time, fresh to Ireland, full of enthusiasm, full of excitement, full of the typical questions that students have. Where's the cheapest pint? Where's the best place to buy meat? What's the story with all your vegetables? Why do they taste different? But they were excited and they were enthusiastic, and this kind of continued and didn't seem to falter at all. They just maintained their motivation from week 1, week 2, week 3, week 6. And at week 6 with this group, I changed class and I went to a totally different group who were a combination of learners that had been there for a while and students that were fresh to the group. And the dynamic was completely different. And it was the first time I'd really seen that stark contrast in motivation in learners from a group that were so enthusiastic and so passionate every day. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't come in with the odd hangover, but they were keen, they were willing, they were eager, they wanted to learn, how can I improve, how can I improve? To when I went to the other group, they just seemed so demotivated. And it got me thinking about the slump, thinking about what happens, and thinking about why motivation dips and what we can do to help. To parallel a little bit, I'm a marathon runner. I love to hurt myself, essentially, and go out and run 26.2 miles repeatedly. And I look at what I do with marathon running very similar to the journey of a student that's here for a long time. We go through similar patterns and similar things. You have that initial enthusiasm. I sign up for a race and I think I'm going to take over the world. That's kind of what the student does. Yes, I'm going to go to another country. I'm going to learn English. I love it. It's all about learning. I'm going to be brilliant. I'm going to excel in English. Then the preparations begin. I look at my training plan. I look at my nutrition. The students book their flight, book their course, book their accommodation. They're all set. They're ready to go. They arrive. They're in the honeymoon period. Like me, when I start my training plan, I love it. I'm so motivated. Every day is exciting. Go out, increase my miles. It's brilliant. I'm highly focused. Same as the student, like the group I had, asking questions, eager, wanting to learn more and more. And as I call it, it's the honeymoon period. Because straight after the honeymoon period, you get the dip. You get those times when you're kind of questioning yourself. Why am I doing this? For me, why am I training so hard? Why am I hurting my body? For my students, where is this going? What am I learning? Why am I improving? I didn't pass that test again. What am I doing wrong? And then the doubts. Those are the doubts. The what am I doing wrong? Those feelings of, oh, sure, I won't get up for class today. I'll skip it. I won't do my homework. And we as teachers, we see this. And I think for me, it was just so evident going from one group to the other that there was that real heavy dip in motivation. And a rejuvenation for me with training tends to happen, that someone comes up to me, my coach or my trainer, gives me some good advice. I read something interesting about running that gets me back on course, or my husband just tells me pretty much to cop on. And we are that person for our students. We are that person that can rejuvenate, that can inject them with that want to get up and go and pick them up and set them on their path again. So as teachers, we have a responsibility to help them get re-motivated. And I've used a couple of different practical ideas in my classes to help them think about why they're doing it, what are they doing, how can they come back, how can they get their energy back? Because that's what it's all about, it's getting them enthusiastic again. And one of the things I do is I reflect with them from then until now. So very simply, get them to think about their first day in school. What kind of challenges did they face at their first day in school? And you get the typical things like, I didn't understand the receptionist. I got a lot of information that I didn't understand. I don't even remember my first day in school. Everything was a blur. Then I asked them about their first day in class. Most of them didn't understand their teacher on the first day. That's kind of a common occurrence. And I asked them about outside of school. They got lost. They couldn't find the school. The bus driver was scary. Everything was just daunting and terrifying. I get them to compare They all have those similar feelings. Then I say, where are you now? Can you do these things now? How have you improved? And they'll say, oh, I can do that. I understand my teacher. I know where the school is. I know my way around Dublin City. I know where the cheapest pint is. This is what I can do now. And then, very importantly, I get them to look forward. What do you want to do? What things are still scary? What things are still challenging? What things are you avoiding doing because you don't have that in your language? Another point that I use is can-do statements. What can you do in English? Get them to share their ideas, from the basic thing of going to a bank, opening a bank account, talking about how they can use different dictionaries online, different programs online. What can they do? Get them to share their ideas and describe, and get them to almost show each other how they do it. By sharing fears and by sharing problems that they've had, they're giving each other support. They're almost telling each other it's okay to be afraid, and that can re-motivate as well. Expectations. Get them to think about, what were your expectations before you came here? What were your expectations of yourself, of your school? What were your expectations of Dublin? They always mention the weather. What were your expectations of your teacher? And how are your expectations being met? And I try to bring them back to, how are you not meeting your expectations, and what can you do to be better? And how can we help you? How can we facilitate this? What different ways can we look at improving your skills in different areas? Offering advice, again, getting that spark going. I love to get them to set goals, and I love to get them to set goals with time frames. So thinking about 2 weeks or 1 month, looking at different skills, asking them, what goal would you like? They always come up with the big questions. I'd love to be able to understand a movie from the start to the end in English. Or I'd love to be able to read a book. And I'm like, okay, guys, narrow it down a bit. So I'd always set a target with them, like to pick up a graded reader and not be afraid to get through it. Stick to what you know, make it achievable, make it an aim that you can do. And once they pick up that graded reader, and once they get into it, it starts off that cycle again of language curiosity, and they get into it and they get motivated. A weekly plan is a lovely thing to do. Essentially get them to open their iPhone, open their calendar, and set appointments. Set an appointment at a time when they're with their other native speakers, and call it an English-only hour. And a nice little idea I came up with recently at a training we had was put in a random collection of words at a certain time on a certain day, and they have to use it in a conversation. One of my advanced students came back to me recently and said, yeah, Michelle, I did it. I managed to get the word celibate into a conversation. The person she asked wasn't particularly impressed, but she used it. Daniel, our social program coordinator, got a bit of a shock. And these things work, and it gets them energized and gets them passionate about what they're here for, and gets them to think about it again. So, kind of to recap, the goals need to be smart. They need to be specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, and time-bound. I've taken this from Duncan Ford. We've seen kind of this type of language at leadership courses we've been on before. But specific, make it achievable, make it a target that they can do. Get them to pick up that graded reader. Measurable, get them to pick up that graded reader and write a review. Get them to read, talk to each other. Get them to compare different books that they read. Agreed, agree it with the classmates. Agree it with yourself as the teacher. An agreement is a huge motivator. I agreed to do this talk today. This is bloody terrifying. Look at me. Oh, you're all staring at me. It's terrifying. But an agreement is strong. You're making a promise to yourself. You're making a promise to other people. Be realistic. Don't try to get to the moon in one go. Small chunks, achievable things. And time-bound. Give yourself a limit. Say, right, 1 week, I can do this. So that's essentially me. And these motivation strategies are very important for students, but they're also very important for teachers. If we set our students on a goal that will get them motivated, it gets us motivated. Motivation is addictive. We see our students getting excited, we get excited, other students get excited, and it just spreads. So essentially what I'm trying to say, especially for students who are in this country for a long time, it's not a sprint. It's not something that's quick, easy, and over in a few minutes. It's a long journey with dips, with ups and downs, with trials and tribulations, and we are there as facilitators. We are there as people who can inject motivation and confidence. We're there for the marathon. Thank you.